Welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to put your leader cloths and your fabric on your SR-2 frame. And the SR-2 frame is the first frame that we've made with just 2 rails so that you can float your fabric. And what the 2 rails will allow you to do is it makes it easier to put your fabric on, and it makes it easier for you to adjust it if there's any wrinkles or whatnot on your quilt, so that it just makes quicker work of your quilting, so that you can spend more time with your intricate stitches rather than messing around rolling it on your rails. And so I'm going to get right into it. And with the SR2, you notice that we have just the 2 rails. When you purchase the leader cloths, they come in a set of 3, and so you're going to only use the first 2. What we need to do first is, after you've cut out your leaders and decided what size you want them in, then we need to find our center line. And that's very important so that you can pin your fabric evenly and it rolls evenly. So what I've done is I folded it over, matching my edges, and I've creased it where I want my center line, and I hold it right there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my marking pin and I'll mark it. And it's really kind of ended up right here close to this arrow. And so that is where I've made my center line. So now my shortest depth piece will go onto my take-up rail. And the take-up rail is the rail that goes through the sewing machine. And so it's the closest to the sewing machine, so it needs to be the shortest depth leader cloth. So what I'm going to do is, the next step, which is really important, is so that you can make your leader cloths nice and even, I need to measure in from the side inwards and make a marking line on both poles. The leader cloths have a tendency to slide back and forth, and so you need a marking line so that you can line them up evenly, so everything's going to roll on correctly. So what I'll do is I'll take my ruler and my little Sharpie, and I'm going to mark from the edge in. And I've just got this 18-inch ruler, and I'm just going to make a mark on each of them. Just a little one. Doesn't need to be a big one or anything like that, just so you can pull it and line it up. And you don't have to make it so it's centered in the frame. You just have to make sure that they're even and they're lining up. And that's the most important thing. So those are my marks that I will slide my leader cloths to, so I can make sure that they're lining up. Now that I've done that, I'm going to put my leader cloth on. I'm going to take my Fast tubing, because on this quilting frame, you can take the tubing and secure it on. And what I've done is, you've got your Fast line right here on your leader cloth. So I will just start pushing it down in on the line. And I kind of want to go up because that line kind of pushes down into it. So I kind of go, what I do is I go below the line just barely and start pushing it in. And we have supplied you with your Fast tool, which you can use, but it's so easy to put onto this frame. I really don't need it because it just slides right in. Okay, so now that you've got your shortest depth leader on the quilting frame, what you'll need to do is just slide it till it matches up with your mark. And it will probably come away from it as you're putting the quilt on, but all you have to do is slide it right back. That's why we made that mark to begin with. Now we're going to put our next size on to our backing pole. We're going to call it the backing pole because it's the one that the backing's going to roll up on. And so we're going to do the same thing. You're going to find your center, and I've already found my center on it. And it's on this line as well. And I just want to take my pin and I just want to mark it. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put it on and then slide it back. And, just make sure that as you're putting the tubing in, you just do it right below that line and make sure that you put it in nice and straight and even. Now, then you'll push it and line it up. Now, you notice that I have both leader cloths facing me. It really doesn't matter that much which direction they're facing as much as it's the direction that you're rolling them. That's the most important. So I will show you how, when you're pinning it on, how to roll them the correct direction. But that's the most important thing when you're putting on the leaders. So I take my tubing here and put this one on. Same way. Because my tubing's a little longer, I just kind of want to push it down there. And again, you want to start just right below that line and start putting it in. Okay, now I'm going to slide and make sure that I have them lined up. And now I've got my leaders on. And now we'll work on putting your backing on first. One thing that you need to remember on your backings is to be sure to cut off your selvages. What the selvages do is they make it so that the fabric doesn't fray, but also it's tighter right on the edges. And especially if you're piecing your backing and you're using two pieces, you want to be sure that you cut off your selvages, and then when you're piecing it together, you'll use a larger stitch length. By lengthening your stitch length, it makes it, and on ironing your seam open, it makes it roll on more smoothly and more evenly, and you'll have better results. So those are just a couple of things to remember. So I found my center, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it so the wrong side's up and the right side's facing down. And I'm going to take my center and I'm going to pin it on to the center line of my take-up. And what I'm going to do is, because it's got a pinning line, but it's so hard to pin it across, I'm just going to use the edge and just pin straight across. Starting from the center, and you'll make your pins horizontal, and you'll pin it straight across. And you'll just do that, and you'll do one side, and then you'll do the other. And after a while, you'll get to be such an expert that you won't even have to think about what direction things go or whatnot, what direction your fabrics go. I've kind of laid my pins out in two areas. I laid one set on this side and one set on this side, so they're easier to get to. That's kind of a nice little trick. That's not even really a trick. Now that you've finished pinning it onto your take-up rail, now we're going to put it onto our backing pole. And the reason that we're going to roll it up onto this pole and not float it is you don't want any wrinkles in it. It's really important, and I've learned the hard way that you don't want to float all three of your layers. It's easier to do it that way, but you'll end up with some wrinkles in it that you won't have noticed till after you take the quilt off. So, we've found our center, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop it down through the middle, pull up my leader cloth from underneath, and you can see the pinning line, and I'm just going to start pinning it straight across. Just follow the edge of it, and that's all you have to do. Now that I have it all pinned, now I'm going to roll it up onto my backing pole. And this will help to keep wrinkles out and keep it nice and straight and even. And so what I'm going to do is to release the ratchet that stops it from rolling. So you'll just pull the ratchet stop down, pull out the pin, and then you'll want to push it in. And this will make it so it rolls freely and it's not ratcheting, and you can roll it up. All right, so we're going to start rolling up our backing. And so you'll want to roll the backing pole towards you. And so all you have to do is start turning it. And you can see what I'm saying, that after a while, you don't even see the lines or the numbers. So it's not going to make really any difference. So just finding that center and making sure that there's no wrinkles in it. It's really important. And as you get to the end, find your adjustments. I want to take a pole and lock it into place and turn it towards me, because they both turn towards you and you can hear it ratcheting. I want to lock it. Okay? And then I'll take the little pin out and just kind of lock the backing into place. And you can see it's all nice and smooth and nice and straight. So the next step is that we're going to put our batting on. We just want to center it. And I just want to pin it up with my pins, vertical. Just to hold it into place in just a couple of spots so it doesn't shift on me. Maybe 3 spots. Because I'll be taking these pins out eventually. And I'm going to put my top on. And I'll just want to center my top. And because I can still see my center line on my leader, I can find the center on my top, and I can open it up and just place it on that center line. And I'm going to do a couple more pins. So what I'm going to do, so now my batting, I'm going to take that same pin that I used on my batting, and I'm going to push it down through all 3 layers just to hold it into place. Now, because I'm going to baste across my quilt, I'm going to be taking these pins out, and it's going to be basted down, and so I won't need to worry about that. All right. So the other nice thing, I want to kind of pull this out so I don't get any wrinkles in it. The same thing with the batting. And then I want to push it out of the way so I'm not stepping on it, is you have your, what we call the quilt clips. And what these do is they go over your backing pole, and they pull your your fabric nice and tight. And you'll get a set of 4 for your larger quilts. And that's all you have to do to put it on. And now, you're ready to start your sewing. Alright, so one thing people are always asking is, where did the bungee clamps go on the SR-2 frame? Well, you see these 2 little Mickey Mouse ears? Those are your bungee clamp holders. And where they'll go is you'll put your bungee clamp in, you don't need to stop. You'll push it in through this way. It doesn't matter if you even do it the other way. And you'll pull it through, and then you'll pull it down. And that will make it so that you can adjust. So as you're putting the bungees on, you just gently put it on to the side. And yes, you're going to have to remove it as you sew. But what you'll do is gently pull it. You don't want to pull it too much because you don't want to stretch your fabric in any way. You just want to just barely give it a tug and then push it down and lock it into place. And that will lock your bungees. Now, the reason you don't want to pull it is because you don't want to stretch your biasy pieces of fabric. If you've cut triangles or anything like that, if you put too much pull on it, it will stretch your fabric. So we want to make our fabric nice and smooth and square. So the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the aligning of the take-up pole to the sewing machine. As you'll notice that there is a large gap in between, and we don't want that. And the reason you don't want that gap is, number one, it makes it harder for your bobbin to catch, and also it makes it harder, it makes your fabric bounce more. And so we want to lower our take-up pole so it's closer to the bottom plate, not all the way down till it's rubbing, but closer to. So you'll want a finger width up off of the plate of the sewing machine. And also you want to make sure that your backing rail is even straight across with it. So I'm going to go to this side first and loosen up my knob. So now that I have lowered my right side, I'm going to lower my left side. And so I've loosened my knob, and I'm going to, as I'm lowering it, I'm going to watch it so that I can look down the pole and notice that it's nice and even, and then I'm going to tighten my knob back up. As tight as I can get it. And there you have it. Now I'm going to look at my backing pole, and they look pretty even straight across, and so I'm not going to make any adjustments to that. Maybe, I take it back. I'm going to lower this side just a bit. Okay, so now I can get my fingers underneath. It's just far enough off of the plate of the sewing machine, or off of the bottom of the sewing machine, that it rolls smoothly and you're not going to have it touch the bottom of it or rub so that you get uneven stitches. And I'm just going to take it down and test it back and forth. Now, as you're sewing, you're going to have to adjust all four sides the same way. As it fills up, it'll start rubbing against the plate, bottom of your sewing machine. You'll just go to the sides and raise them up. And that's all you have to do. And just take that rule of thumb and make sure that it rolls nice and smoothly before you start sewing again, from one side to the other. Okay. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm using Arc Unique, the sewing machine that the Grace Company makes today, just to demonstrate for you, is to pull my bottom thread up, and I'm going to baste across the top just to hold it down. And I'm not really using a basting stitch per se, but I'm just sewing as close to the edge as I can so that when you sew your binding on, nobody will ever know that you have done that, and it'll be hidden. So you don't have to unpick or anything. Who likes to unpick? Nobody. So I just want to push my needle down and bring it up and pull up my bobbin thread. You always want to pull your bobbin thread up. You don't want the tail hanging underneath, because as you're sewing, you'll sew over it. And you don't want to sew over it because it'll get caught down in there and make your backing not look very attractive. So pull it up, and then I kind of want to just take another one, just kind of tie it off just a bit, put it in place. And now I'm just going to go straight across as close to the edge as I can. But when I get to these pins, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, pull the pin out so I don't go over it and break a needle. And you can go as slow as you need to. Okay, I come to my first one, I'm stopping, taking the pin out, set it off to the side, and just going straight across, as close to the edge as I can. And you know what? It doesn't have to be nice and straight, because nobody's ever going to see it. We're just basting it now. Coming to my next pin, I'm stopping it, pulling the pin out, and just go straight across. And then come to the end. Tie it off just a little bit. Now I'm going to pull my thread just a tad so I don't break it. And I'm going to pull out to the side and I'm going to cut it. Okay, so now that we've finished up the top, what I'm going to do is baste down the side as far as I can. And the bungees are probably going to be my stopping point, because that's all the further that the sewing machine will reach. And I have to use my hand to hold the fabric. There we go. Now I'll just tie it off. Now we'll pull it, and we'll just cut, and we'll go down to the other side and do the same thing. Now, you'll notice that my bungees will get in the way. So, what I want to do is just use this one on the bottom, and I'm going to sew down the side on it, so it holds it into place as close to the edge again as I can. And go as far as you can. Now I've hit the bungee, and that's where I'm going to stop. So now I've done that side, I can pull it out, pull it off to the side, take my scissors, and cut. Okay, so once you're to the end of your quilt, you'll take your quilt clips off. And we're going to roll by unratcheting, pulling it down, pushing the pin in. Pull it down, push the pin in. We're going to roll. And we'll see that my top is longer than my backing. That's okay. Going to lock it into place. So what I'm going to do is smooth it all out, and you pretend that you have quilted it all the way to the end, and I am going to just baste down and start up here, baste down and go across all the way to the end. Now you don't want to sew your leader cloth to backing, so you know what, I might just take my scissors and just trim this right across here. So that I can see. And same thing with my batting. I'm just going to trim it up so I can see more easily. Now you can see, I can easily see, moving straight across. And so I'll start up here, and pull my thread up, back stitches, and then sew down, and I hold it right here with my hand so that I can pull out the bungees and now I don't want to hit the leader, and I know I'm going to probably have to cut some off. So I just want to go straight across. to, because I can't really see going backwards and I want to make sure that I hit the edge, I am going to cut this off and take it off to the side, cut my threads, and then go down the side. Okay, one thing I want to let you know, that you don't have to do it the exact same way I did it. And you can decide what works best for you. You know, if basting down the side isn't your thing, don't baste down the side. It doesn't matter. If basting across and you want to just pin and take the pins out as you're sewing, that's fine too. Just make sure that you do it the way that works best for you. And I just hope you have so much fun quilting on your SR-2 quilting frame or any other frame, or any other Grace frame, I should say. So, thank you.